You know those habits you secretly cringe at: staying up till 3 a.m., talking to yourself, drifting off into daydreams when you should be focused. What if those aren't bad habits at all, but subtle signs of a sharper mind, just wired a little differently? Today, we're going to look at weird habits that are actually signs of high intelligence. Not because intelligence is an end goal, but because understanding how your mind works can shift how you live. So, if you've ever felt a little odd, this might be a relief. Let's dive in. Part 1. Is it wrong to be weird? When I say weird habits, I don't mean anything extreme or pathological. I'm talking about the small behaviors that make you feel offbeat, the ones your friends tease you for, or that society quietly labels as unproductive. The late-night thinkers, the self-talkers, the constant questioners. In other words, habits that don't fit neatly into the box of what's considered normal. And when I say high intelligence, I'm not referring to an IQ score. I mean a brain that works in less conventional ways, a mind marked by curiosity, depth, and creative problem-solving skills. Psychologists often talk about divergent thinking, the ability to generate many possible ideas instead of just one right answer. Studies show there's a small but real link between intelligence and divergent thinking. In simple terms, smarter brains often show up as more curious and idea-driven, even if not all creative people are labeled as geniuses. That means smart thinking doesn't always look linear or efficient. Sometimes it looks weird. So, the habits we'll look at today don't guarantee you're a genius, but they might reveal a brain with a different rhythm. One that thrives on curiosity, complexity, and contradiction. So being weird isn't the problem. Maybe it's the clue. Let's look at the habits that prove it. Habit number 1. You stay up late. You're most alive at night. While the world sleeps, your mind wakes up, clearer, sharper, restless. Society says, early to bed, early to rise. But some brains prefer the quiet hours from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Research actually links eveningness, a tendency to stay up late, with higher cognitive ability. Why? At night, the world goes quiet. No notifications, no noise. Your thoughts have room to wander, to connect dots that get lost in daylight. Some psychologists also think that people who stay up late might show higher cognitive flexibility. Basically, the ability to think differently, adapt, and explore new patterns. It's not proven fact, but the trend's interesting. If your brain naturally hits its stride after dark, you don't need to fight it. Instead, recognize your rhythm. Structure your work or study time around when you're mentally sharpest. Just keep in mind, this isn't an excuse to sacrifice rest. Even unconventional minds need full recharge hours. Think of it less as when you sleep, and more about how well you do. Being a night owl doesn't make you lazy, it just means your internal clock is tuned differently. But what about when your mind wanders in broad daylight? That brings us to another habit that often gets mislabeled as distraction. Habit number 2, you daydream on purpose. You catch yourself staring into space, imagining random scenarios, replaying conversations, building alternate worlds in your head, and then you scold yourself for being distracted. But here's the twist. Daydreaming is linked to creativity and problem solving. When your brain isn't focused on a single task, it enters what's called the default mode network, or DMN, a system that activates during rest and mind wandering. That's when your subconscious takes over and starts connecting ideas you didn't even realize were related. Einstein was known for what he called thought experiments. He imagined chasing beams of light, and those daydreams led to the theory of relativity. So, next time your mind drifts, don't immediately pull it back. Let it wander a bit, but notice how you wander. If you're daydreaming to avoid something, that's different. But if you're exploring possibilities, that's your creative mind at work. Keep a small notebook nearby. You'd be surprised how many of your random thoughts become usable ideas later. Let's talk about why solitude doesn't always mean loneliness. Habit number 3, you prefer solitude. You genuinely like being alone. It's not that you hate people, you just recharge better in your own company. And sometimes others don't get that. They'll ask, "Why don't you go out more?" Or, "Don't you get lonely?" But solitude isn't loneliness, it's space. Studies have found that highly intelligent people often enjoy solitude more than the average person. They don't need constant stimulation because their inner world is already full. Solitude gives your brain breathing room, a place to sort, reflect, and create. It's where ideas settle and insights form. Still, solitude isn't isolation. You can value your own company and crave meaningful connection. The balance? Prioritize quality over quantity. Deep conversations, not small talk. A few close bonds, not endless social noise. If being alone brings clarity, don't see it as weird, see it as maintenance. Comfort in solitude often breeds reflection, and reflection naturally turns into curiosity. Habit number 4, you ask a lot of whys. You question everything, rules, traditions, explanations. You don't just accept that's how it is. This constant curiosity is a hallmark of intelligence. You want to understand, not just memorize. Psychologically, this trait is linked to openness to experience, a core personality factor correlated with both creativity and intelligence. You're not being difficult when you ask why. You're trying to see the mechanism behind the curtain. The key is to balance it. Too much skepticism can drain you or annoy the people around you. Pick your moments. But overall, curiosity is fuel. It keeps your brain elastic and your worldview expanding. For some people, questions end once they get an answer. For others, every answer just opens another door. Smart minds aren't satisfied with surface explanations. They want to understand the why behind the why. That's how they make sense of patterns, systems, and people. And that endless questioning often leads to collecting what looks like useless knowledge, the small, odd details others skip over. But those bits are rarely useless. They're puzzle pieces waiting for the right picture. So the next time someone rolls their eyes when you ask another why, remember, that's not ignorance, that's exploration. However, what happens when that complexity spills into your space? Habit number 5. You thrive in chaos. Your room, desk, or desktop might look like a storm just passed through, but somehow you know exactly where everything is. Every item holding a memory, a purpose, or an unfinished thought. While the tidy space, tidy mind rule sounds good, studies have found that messy environments can actually boost creative thinking. Researchers at the University of Minnesota discovered that participants in messy rooms came up with more innovative ideas than those in tidy ones. Why? Because mess can symbolize flexibility. It shows you're comfortable with complexity and less attached to rigid order. If your space looks chaotic but your ideas flow, maybe that's your system. You remember where you left things, not because you're neat, but because you feel their place. That's a form of empathy, not just for people, but for objects too. Psychologists call it anthropomorphism, giving human-like value to things around you. It might sound odd, but it reflects emotional depth and creative thinking. Your brain assigns stories where others see static. So when your space looks wild but makes sense to you, trust that inner order. Still, there's a line. Remember that chaos can inspire, but too much of it can drown your clarity. If your environment supports your focus, great. If it starts feeling heavy or confusing, that's your cue to reset. A messy desk can mirror a busy mind, and sometimes that mind needs to speak to itself just to find clarity. Habit number 6, you talk to yourself. Here's why talking to yourself might actually be a sign of deep thought. You catch yourself whispering plans, repeating instructions, or even arguing ideas out loud. And yeah, it can feel strange, especially if someone overhears. But talking to yourself is actually a form of cognitive processing. Psychologists call it self-directed speech, either aloud or quietly in your head, and it helps you think, remember, and stay organized. In one study, people who verbalized instructions out loud were faster and more accurate in completing tasks. It's your brain externalizing thought, turning abstract ideas into tangible sound. This type of verbal thinking helps the brain organize information and monitor progress in real time. So, when you mutter, "Okay, first I'll do this," or "Wait, that doesn't make sense," that's not weird. That's your brain debugging in real time. Just maybe save the full debates for when you're alone. Once you start noticing your thoughts, you also notice everything else. Sounds, lights, emotions, they all hit a little stronger. That's where sensitivity enters the picture. Habit number 7, you're sensitive to stimuli. You notice things others don't: the flicker of a light, the hum of a fridge, the texture of clothing, the mood in a room. Sometimes it feels like too much. Your mind doesn't crave constant stimulation, yet, ironically, you feel the world more vividly than most. This sensitivity can be overwhelming, but it's also data. Your brain is wired to take in more sensory or emotional information, which can enhance pattern recognition and empathy. Studies link higher perceptual sensitivity with deeper cognitive processing. Essentially, you're absorbing more, which gives you more raw material for insight. Of course, that also means you can burn out faster. Your nervous system works over time. The trick: don't fight your sensitivity, manage it. Build quiet time into your day. Reduce stimuli when you can. Because sensitivity isn't a weakness, it's just high-resolution perception. Habit number 8, you have many interests. You jump from one thing to another. Art, science, languages, design. People call you unfocused and impulsive. But the truth, that curiosity is a core part of intelligence. You get excited about patterns, how things connect. That's how polymaths think. They cross-pollinate ideas across disciplines. It's not that you can't focus, it's that you see connections everywhere. Psychologists call this multi-potentiality, having multiple strong interests and the ability to excel in different areas. The risk, of course, is spreading too thin. So instead of fighting your variety, structure it. Let one main pursuit anchor you while the others orbit around it. You don't have to pick one identity. Your range is your strength. By now, you've probably spotted a few of your own habits in this list, but recognizing them is only half the story. Next, we'll talk about how to use them. Part 2, real-life use. So, what do we do with all this? Here's the thing. Having these habits doesn't automatically make you a genius, and not having them doesn't mean you aren't smart. The real takeaway is awareness. And when you understand why you act a certain way, you stop seeing it as a flaw. You start working with your mind, not against it. If you're a night owl, design your schedule around your peak focus. If you daydream, let that fuel your creativity instead of feeling guilty about it. If you love solitude, use that time to think deeply, not just scroll endlessly. The goal isn't to romanticize every habit, it's to recognize patterns and use them intentionally. Because most weird behaviors have a reason underneath, a logic that's just less visible to others. So instead of asking, "How do I fix this?" try asking, "What is this habit trying to tell me about how my brain works best?" That question changes everything. Part 3. Why this matters. At the end of the day, intelligence isn't about grades, IQ tests, or labels. It's about adaptability, the ability to understand yourself and the world more deeply. The reason this matters is because so many people go through life thinking they're broken, when they're just wired differently. You stay up late, overthink, talk to yourself, feel too much, and assume something's wrong. But maybe that's just the shape of your mind. And once you stop fighting your mold and trying to fit in with everybody else, everything starts to make more sense. You begin to design your life around how your brain naturally operates, instead of forcing it into someone else's rhythm. That's where real intelligence shows up. Not in conformity, but in self-awareness. So, if you've ever felt weird, maybe that's not a flaw to fix. Maybe it's a sign that your mind sees the world in higher resolution. And if that's true, you're not too much, you're just tuned differently. And that's exactly what makes you brilliant. If this video helped you see your weird habits in a new light, take that as a win. It means you're learning to understand your mind better. If that resonates with you, then this next video will take it even deeper.